As we launch headfirst into the second half of 2023 and all of the movies that it has to offer us, I have compiled a list of the worst films of 2023. I am also compiling a list of the best movies of 2023 so far in a separate video. But for this one, I've compiled the films that I have seen personally, that I've watched from beginning to end, all the way through, that I personally believe are the worst of this year. What I am not going to include is films that I might have fallen asleep on, because I don't think it's fair to review a film that I didn't see fully. So I won't include those. I don't review those. I only review films that I stay awake and watch fully. And then I also don't have any documentaries on this list because I haven't seen any documentaries yet. I am saving my documentaries for the year. So far this year, I have not seen any documentary features, shorts, or series. So I am saving those for later this year. So that I can compile a list of the ones I believe should be nominated for Oscars. And I'm also not bandwagoning any films that everyone else hates. So you won't see The Flash on here. I'm not going to see The Flash. I didn't review The Flash, and so it is not on my list, even though it is a box office bomb. I was planning to see Marlowe. I didn't see it. So that is not on my list. I know it is on a lot of people's list. And then I also fell asleep in Fool's Paradise. So that won't be on this list. There are more, but these are the 12 worst in my experience and opinion. All right, with that out of the way, here is my list of the 12 worst films that I saw so far this year in 2023. Number 12. I'm sorry. AntMan and the Wasp was a mess. It didn't look good on the screen. I was bored out of my mind. It was too long. And honestly, I hadn't seen the other two, but I guess it is a little confusing. Maybe. I don't know. I guess you would have had to seen the other two to get this, but visually, it was a mess. It was too loud. It was too difficult to follow. I didn't have a good experience. It was one of the films I saw at the theater where I was mad I saw it. Similar to my experience seeing my number 11, which is 65. I didn't resonate with this film. It was boring. It was dated. It was redundant. I like Adam Driver. I've seen all of his recent films. This is one I just did not get. I didn't like it. And my number 10, Alice Darling. The trailer intrigued me because I thought it was going to be a little like Sleeping with the Enemy. Oh my gosh. I like Anna Kendrick like everybody else, but this is one of the worst films I've seen her in. It doesn't have any direction. It got a little sloppy in the ending. I thought it was going to be like Sleeping with the Enemy. I thought it was going to have something meaningful to say. It doesn't. And she isn't. I didn't want to root for her as the protagonist. I didn't resonate with her on any level. It was a really bad performance. All right. Number 9, Love Again. I felt so bad that this film was so bad I didn't even want to waste time reviewing it. But I liked this idea. The concept was cute, and that's what drove me to see this film in the theaters, even though the trailer wasn't intriguing. So Priyanka Chopra Jonas plays a grieving woman whose boyfriend recently died, and so she texts, because she's lonely, wrought with loneliness, she texts his old phone, but someone has this number by now and is responding to her text, and they are supposed to make a connection, kind of like one of my favorite rom-coms, You've Got Mail. But the chemistry between Priyanka and Sam Hogan is non-existent. They might as well have played siblings. There's nothing there, no connection. And a story or concept like this, I think the chemistry is a big part of it, because you're not sharing a whole lot of screen time for so long. This one was really bad, and I think it was a good concept, but it just failed in execution. My number 8 is About My Father. I kept just like rolling my eyes watching this film, feeling so like not sorry. I just felt bad because Robert De Niro, the legend he is, loves doing these kind of movies as if it's like charitable. I don't know. I'm sure he loves supporting indies, and that's great, and comedians, but this film wanted so desperately to be like Meet the Fockers, or even last year's Easter Sunday, similar to Joe Coy's life. It wanted to be like those films, and it just fails on every level. This was not. It wasn't a good film at all. Hopefully people will find it on streaming and maybe give it a chance, but I did not like that. I was like begging for it to be over. 7, my 7 is Renfield. Nicolas Cage, come on. Like, it should have been more about his character, even though it was entitled Renfield. This wasn't a good film, and they used like domestic violence as a punchline. It is not a good film. It would have been my worst of the year, but there are films worse than Renfield, believe it or not on my list, but it is not good at all. It just, oh my gosh, and don't even let me get started on Awkwafina. Oh, I was so annoyed with her character. Oh my gosh, and she is in everything. I think in my review, I mentioned how people compare her to the Asian Tiffany Haddish, and it's true. She's in so many things, and I feel like skipping them because she's in it. It's just so uncomfortable to watch her performances. She was so good in The Farewell from 2019, but everything before and after that I've seen at least have been bad, and this is no exception. She's bad in Renfield. Number 6, Hypnotic. When I tell you Ben Affleck looks so miserable in this film, it's as if he did not want to agree to whatever this is. In concept, he was probably, at the beginning stages, he was probably all on board. And then what it evolved into, he probably just detached, because the performance he turns in just seems so disconnected to the story and to the edited version that we get. It feels like he didn't even want to be there, or it looks like he didn't want to be in this film. It's all over the place. He plays a detective in the film, but he is also investigated by this secret government agency. It's just not a good film. And I think he would agree with it. Number 5 is the most boring film I've seen in the theater, not just this year, but in a long time, and that's Paint. Owen Wilson in this film is not funny. He's supposed to be charismatic. He is not. He's supposed to be this charismatic womanizer from the 70s who's losing his mojo after being this like local celebrity painter. This isn't even a streaming movie. This film is so bad. But there are worse films than this, believe it or not, but that movie was so boring. I mean, I'm surprised I didn't fall asleep, but I'm glad I didn't because it's on the list. Number 4, White Men Can't Jump. Talk about unnecessary reboot. This was so unnecessary. White Men Can't Jump is so iconic, and Sinqua Walls and Jack Harlow do not have the chemistry or level of like performance ability that you find in Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes. To even try is a smack in the face of the viewer. This is not funny. It wasn't well written. There's no chemistry the way it was between Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson. There's no chemistry between Jack Harlow and Sinqua Walls. Not as magnetic and electric as it was with Wesley Snipes and with Woody Harrelson. This was an unnecessary reboot. It wasn't directed well. The music, granted, is good in the film, but that's it. We didn't ask for this, but we got it. Worse than that, another reboot of 2023 so far. No, we didn't ask for a reboot of House Party. Iconic movies, if you're not going to make them better, add to something, give it some more originality as it had originally, or say something profound in this era to complement the original one, leave it alone. Nobody asked for a House Party reboot, and they tried to recreate the moment, the dance moment. We didn't ask for this, and it tries to throw us off with these cameos that fall flat. And the same director that directed White Men Can't Jump reboot, the White Men Can't Jump reboot, directed the House Party reboot, and it lacks chemistry, it lacks direction, it tries to fill the audience with music. Music was good, but the chemistry is non-existent. And Kid and Play, they had a magnetic on-screen chemistry in their music and in their films. It is absent here. House Party didn't add anything new. It wasn't funny. It was unnecessary, and we didn't like it. Not only did we not like it, we voiced our opinions when they dropped the news that they were rebooting this film. We said no then, still made it, and it's bad. But it's not the worst film on my list. Number 2, Big George Foreman. We need a rematch. They can't. Boxing legend George Foreman has he has a larger than life public profile. This didn't touch on so many of the big points. Let me tell you what's worse. He was yanked out of bankruptcy really after being robbed by his accountant to sign on to do these grills that changes the trajectory of his life and legacy. And that moment gets maybe 5 minutes. There are so many missed opportunities in this film, this biopic, and I hate to say it, it is not well casted. This is not a good film. We have to have another biopic, and a lot of times these biopics come off bad like this one because the subject is too involved in the project. They want the direction of their life to be told through their eyes when they're not the best storyteller for the property. I think George Foreman was too involved and cut out way too much to make this a better film. I hope that this is not the last biopic we get about his life. But even that is not the worst film I've seen this year. The absolute worst film I saw, unfortunately, is Fear. When I tell you I respect Deon Taylor as a filmmaker, I really do appreciate him, but he fails big time with this particular movie. This film is all over the place. It's not well acted. Oh my goodness. It's poorly edited. So Joseph Sikora stars in this film. You'll remember him who played Tommy in Power. Well, he's a writer and he gets his friends together for this weekend vacay and capitalizes off their fears. Everyone explains what their deepest fear is, and a lot of it does want to say something meaningful. I get that, but it just wasn't executed well. It's poorly executed, and the ending is just like a head scratcher. But and a lot of it says that a lot of our fears are derived from misinformation and disinformation, especially in the Black community. But I mean, this film is just, for me, it's my worst so far of 2023. So my worst list can change because there are other movies that are going to be released this year. But for half the year so far, these are etched in stone for January to June, my worst of the year. To recap, my 12 worst films of 2023 so far. Number 12, AntMan and the Wasp. Number 11, 65. Number 10, Alice Darling. Number 9, Love Again. Number 8, About My Father. Number 7, Renfield. Number 6, Hypnotic. Number 5, Paint. Number 4, White Men Can't Jump. Number 3, House Party. Number 2, Big George Foreman. And number 1, Fear.